Welcome to the CouchScouts podcast. We provide league-winning analysis, advice, and tools to help you dominate your league and build a dynasty. Scout, draft, win. Here's your host, Matt Cooper.
Hello and welcome to episode 145 of the CouchScouts podcast. I'm your host, Matt Jackson. With me, as always, I've got my co-host, Matt Rupert.
How you doing, my man?
Man, I'm a little tired, not going to lie. For those that don't know, that hasn't seen me around recently in the Discord maybe at all, I have taken the last 4 or 5 days taking a group of students to summer camp. And Rupert, man, summer camp is interesting, right? Because you just go buck wild from sun up to sundown for 4 days straight. And it is the most like wildest, crazy experience with a bunch of teenage students. And like literally we would wake up at 6 a.m. for breakfast because we were blessed enough to have the first shift for breakfast. So we'd have to be there, at 6:30 for breakfast. And then we would go to about 12 o'clock midnight at night, sometimes even 1 o'clock in the morning. So I've jam-packed about 75, 80 hours of camp into the last 4 days. And so we're gonna power grind through this.
And then take a nap tomorrow.
Yeah. No, we are. I am going to bed as soon as we record this and the bonus podcast because sleep is going to be my best friend. Something about man, just sleeping in the same room as just a bunch of like
rambunctious.
I was with the middle school group, so I was in the room with a bunch of middle schoolers trying to keep them from killing themselves. So that's a full-time job in and of itself. So I'm excited to be back talking with a grown-up. So I appreciate you being here, Rupert.
I appreciate that.
on tonight's show, we are continuing something that we started a little bit last week, going over our rankings heading into the 2026 season. So if you missed our show last week, we started this series because most of you may or may not be in a startup draft right now. And we thought that it was no better time to go over kind of what our rankings are, for some of the top positions, guys we would be targeting, cornerstone pieces of your dynasty rosters, and kind of where we rank them. So tonight we're doing running backs. Last week we did quarterbacks. If you didn't listen to that show, go back and listen to that because it was a good show. It was fun. But tonight we're doing running backs, talking about guys who are higher on the consensus, maybe lower on the consensus, and we're gonna give you guys a general idea of where we are for our top 24 running backs as the fantasy season approaches. So this ADP data that we've sourced comes from Dynasty Data Lab. That's how we're telling where we're above consensus, below consensus, and shout out our show sheet guy, Garrett. He heard me on the last podcast talking about how atrociously colorblind I am. So he's made the colors tonight blue and orange. And I so appreciate that, Garrett. Makes this a lot easier for me. So shout out Garrett. But we're going to go through some different tiers. So to start us off, we're going to talk about running backs 1 through 6. And Rupert, why don't you go ahead and start us off with your top 6 running backs?
Pretty much no surprise here. Bijan Robinson, number 1, right in line with consensus, and Jahmyr Gibbs at 2, in line with consensus. I have Ashton Jeanty at 3, which is also consensus. Where I finally differ is Devon Achane. I have ranked at number 4. And he's RB6 per consensus. Then I have Jeremiah Love at 5, who consensus has him at 4. And then I have Omarion Hampton at 6, where he's at 5 for everyone else.
Yeah, no, I'm pretty much in lockstep with you there, and it's pretty consensus across the board where these running backs are going top 6. I mean, the cornerstone RBs on your roster or some version of those guys, right? Like Bijan is going to be one. He is a phenomenal all-pro talent who I think may even be better this year. Like may be the top running back in fantasy this year. No surprise there. He's RB1. Jahmyr Gibbs 2. Now doesn't have to deal with David Montgomery. So is getting the lion's share of the touches where he's not in that backfield split. He doesn't have Montgomery stealing those touchdowns at the goal line. I mean,
I see what you did there with lion share.
Lion share, yeah. I didn't do that intentionally. I like that. Yeah, so Jahmyr Gibbs at 2. I think he could have a real special season this year. Ashton Jeanty at 3. I'm not worried about what last season really looked like. That offensive line, you guys have heard us talk about it on this podcast a little bit before. That offensive line was atrocious. I'm shocked he got as many yards as he did last season with the terrible play of that offensive line. I think some of the changes they've done in the offseason is going to help that out a little bit. And he's still the phenomenal talent we thought he was. I do have Devon A-Chain at 4, just like you did. I think the reason that he maybe is down there is just the QB question marks, the passing game question marks. Obviously, teams are going to start stacking the box now. So what is his touch carry? What does his effectiveness really look like? But he's still a phenomenal talent. Elite pass catching running back, elite between the tackles. He's got the long speed. Like, I'm not worried about Devon A-Chain. I think he's going to be just fine. So I can't, even though with the offensive situation, I can't drop him any further than 4. Jeremiah Love at 5, consensus is 4. I feel more comfortable with 5, honestly. I think that the Jeremiah Love could have kind of the season that we saw Ashton Genty have last year. For as bad as the Raiders were last year, the Cardinals are just as bad, right? So I do think that obviously they're going to feed him because right now he's the highest paid running back in the NFL, and you draft him.
It's crazy.
You draft him as high as you do to obviously play him. So I feel comfortable with 5 there, and then Amarion Hampton 6. I mean, just that Chargers offense is so fun. So I feel comfortable with that top 6. That's pretty much the consensus top 6 around the board. It gets a little interesting kind of from here on out. So I'll go and start with my running backs 7 through 12. I've got Bucky Irving at 7, and that is a mild, maybe not even mild. It feels like a hot take right now because right now he's consensus running back 17. Call it Bucky Irving truthing syndrome. Like, I know the question marks that we have around that offense, the question marks we have around the injury, all that kind of stuff, but he is still just such a phenomenal talent. And I don't know, this feels like a Couch Scout special, right? Like, we were telling everybody when he came out, hey, he's a really good 3rd round pick that I would even use a 2nd round pick on. Like, go get your guy. And Rupert, how many shares did me, you, and Cooper end up with in the offseason? Like, it was
I have a share in every league that Matt Cooper doesn't have him in the same league, and then I think there's one league where someone else in the league got him. But other than that, I pretty much have.
And it has paid dividends. And like, even though we're way above consensus, like, Bucky Irving is just always going to hold a special place in this podcast heart, and for good reason, because he's a phenomenal talent. I've got Jonathan Taylor at 8. He's consensus RB7, so a little below consensus there. For me, that kind of just falls on the health of Daniel Jones and what that offense really looks like. Jonathan Taylor, whenever he has some stack boxes, he doesn't have the great season that he has last year. Daniel Jones, I think, opened that up a little bit. So, but I still think great running back there. James Cook, I have him at 9. He's a consensus RB5. I don't know, like, RB5 just seems rich for me.
I'm not there.
I'll give you he's a top 12 running back, and he puts up the production to be a top 12 running back. I just can't put him above any of those guys that we just mentioned. Quinshon Judkins, have him at 10. He's RB14. I think he really showed out last season and could be even better this season. With some of the wide receiver help they got, you got to respect the over the top play and some of those other wide receivers. So I think Quinshon Judkins can even have a better season. Travion Henderson at 11. If he can finally get out of the coach doghouse and Ramondre Stevenson can stop stealing carries, I still think that Travion Henderson is lightning in a bottle. He hopefully fixes some of these blocking issues that kept him off the field. And then Christian McCaffrey, I've got at 12. I know he's older. I know consensus says that, older running backs you don't really want to have on your roster, but Christian McCaffrey is the outlier in that scenario, especially with PPR backs in fantasy right now. Like, he's still a stud. He's still an elite asset that I can't not put inside my top 12 running back. So that's where I'm at from 7 to 12. Where are you at from 7 to 12?
I'm with Jonathan Taylor there at 7, right in line with consensus. I have Bucky Irving at 8, where we're 9 spots higher, or I'm 9 spots higher than consensus there. pretty much everything you said. I think Rashad White leaving, granted, Kenneth Gainwell came in there. He can take away carries and take some pressure off of him, but I don't think he's going to be a workhorse back. That's going to really eat into Irving's production. I'm excited to see him come back this year. I got James Cook at 9, where consensus has him at 8. Totally agree with you. Like, I can't get as high as consensus is on him. Even though it's going on year, he'll be 27 this season. He finished last year's RB6. I just like some of these other guys ahead of him a little bit more. I have Travion Henderson at 10, just a little bit above you. And then Kyron Williams at 11, where consensus has him at 16. And then Quinshon Judkins at 12, where consensus has him at 14. You're a little bit higher on Judkins than me, just 2 spots. I agree. I like what I saw out of him last year. The injury worries me a little bit, so I'm just being a little bit more cautious there. Kyron Williams being 5 spots above consensus there, I'm a little surprised because he's only 25 right now.
Got the contract.
He has a contract. The last 3 years, he's been RB7, and last year, a down year, he was RB9. So I'm not quite understanding why consensus is so low on him. And I mean, I guess people are concerned about Blake Corum. I think he is a solid player. I don't think he's Kyron Williams caliber.
Well, we're going to have a conversation later about another guy that we kind of treated the same as Kyron Williams, and that's Chase Brown, right? There's some guys like that, Chase Brown, Kyron Williams, some of these other guys, right, were like, they're great running backs and they're putting up production, but the contract is an issue, right? And it's really holding us back from ranking any higher. I mean, those questions are answered now, I think, with James Cook or with Kyron Williams. And I really do think that, now that he has the contract, he's put up the production. Like, for me, I don't understand why he's that low. So here's where it gets interesting, right? Because we're going to talk about 13 through 18. And here's where we start getting a little different from what consensus says. So why don't you read me off your 13 through 18?
I have Cam Scatterbo at 13, where the rest of the community has him at RB 18. We saw exactly what we saw on his college tape last year, and it seems like he's come back from his injury pretty well. Doing backflips and everything. I don't feel too worried about it, even though there's a lot of smoke with him trying to bring in another running back this season. It didn't happen. To me, I still feel very strongly in my convictions about the talent he is. So sticking to my guns there, keeping him at 13. At 14, I have Breece Hall, and just 1 spot above where everyone else has him. A guy that I love his talent and still love him. I just hate that he's stuck with the Jets. I really hope that he can have that kind of season he had a few years ago where he finished as RB2, because I know he has the talent. He just needs a better situation. So hopefully that situation with the Jets improves. I have Christian McCaffrey at 15 here. I couldn't quite get as high as you, even though he is admittedly my favorite player in the NFL. I'm just looking at age, and I just can't go much higher unless I'm absolutely in a win now kind of mode. And then right on line with that, I got Saquon Barkley next in my rankings at 16, just 1 spot above consensus where he's at 15. I have Chase Brown at 17, where consensus has him at 10. Until he really gets that contract and that security, I just haven't quite believed it. It feels like he's been a little bit more of a product of his situation compared to what the talent I see on tape. I think he's solid. I don't think he's a top 10 quarterback, or running back. So I think playing with Joe Burrow and then those elite weapons on the outside really helps him. And so I just have ranked him in line with what I feel like his talent level is. So if he has another great season, I'm totally ready to eat crow there and bring him up my rankings. I just need to see a little bit more. And then rounding out, I have Kenneth Walker at 18, where consensus has him at RB 11, which is quite shocking to me. I get that he's on the Chiefs now, but until we start to see a little bit more consistency and the availability really to stay on the field, I just can't really bring myself to rank him any higher.
Yeah, so I'm right with you with several of these players. So at 13, I have Brees Hall. Brees Hall is just a guy that I want to root for so bad. I think he's had some bad luck, right? He's had some bad quarterback play that he's had to deal with. He's had some bad situations he's been put into, and he still produces at a pretty good level. I still think him, and he's still on the younger side. I think that there's a situation where we can see, if you can have him as an RB2 price. I mean, I can see him putting up some back in RB1 seasons. So just he's somebody that I love watching. So I have him right there. Saquon Barkley at 14. I've talked about this on our show before. I believe in what I'm seeing out of this Eagles offense this year. Some of the stuff that we're hearing coming out of camp for beat writers, some of the videos that I'm seeing, like of players talking about like how just the complexity of the offense compared to what it looked like last year. And I know that camp talk is camp talk, and obviously I'm not going to say, yeah, this offense sucks, right? But I do still think that the offense is going to look vastly different. I think that Mekhi Lemon is going to open up things underneath in a way that we maybe haven't been able to do last year. Devontae Smith is still going to be over the top. He's still going to be a phenomenal outside wide receiver. I think that not that Saquon Barkley is going to go out and have that 2,000-yard season again. I think he can have a much better season than he had last year. And for the price right now, paying RB15 price for him, his ADP is in the mid rounds, and I think he's one of those guys that for me could be a steal in the mid rounds for your RB for your running back position. So I have him there at 14. Kenneth Walker, I have a little bit higher than you. I have him at 15. And for me, for everything that you said that we can't rate Chase Brown as high just because of quarterback play, for me that's kind of the tiebreaker for me when it comes to Kenneth Walker. Like, yes, injury is an issue. Yes, pass catching is an issue. But if we know anything, we know that if Patrick Mahomes is on the field, like special things can happen. And they haven't had a running back in a couple seasons that has really been able to take that pressure off Mahomes. And I think that Kenneth Walker can be that guy. Like, call it a hunch or whatever you want to call it. I think he can have one of his best seasons and outproduce his ADP. I got Kim Scatterbo at 16, consensus RB 18. I mean, how much more can we wax poetically about Kim Scatterbo? Thought he was going to get replaced. He didn't get replaced. Coaches have come out and saying that like he could be one of the best running backs in the league. And if everything that I've seen about Cam Scatterbo is accurate, and I think that it is, he could be another guy that is just not only super fun to watch, but puts up a lot of points on your fantasy roster. Kyron Williams, I got at 17, which consensus is RB 16. So I'm a little bit behind consensus. Definitely a lot behind you. And that's something that I'm honestly playing with, moving him a few spots up my rankings. It's hard for me to rank him any higher just because of the uncertainty of how much longer Matt Stafford is going to play. And once he's gone, what is that offense really going to look like? But I agree with everything that you said about Kyron Williams. I think he's a phenomenal talent, and I should probably have him higher than he is.
Why are you concerned about Matt Stafford leaving? They drafted Ty Simpson, dude.
They drafted Ty Simpson, and Sean McVay just loved that pick, right? He was like, "That's my guy. Get him on the team." Can't wait to talk.
Those videos were hilarious.
So funny. So much was so funny. And then closing out, Chase Brown, I got at 18. And that's just I want to rank him lower. I really do. I'm just not a Chase Brown fan. But everything you said about Chase Brown, like, I can't do it. Like, there's just
I admit, I'm not a hater of Chase
I'm prepared
Brown.
to eat my words after this season. I really am. Like, if he goes out and has another phenomenal season, like 100% I was wrong. But I don't know. I am waiting for the wheels to fall off, and it's been a magic season the last two seasons. and maybe it'll continue, but I'm waiting for that thing to happen where I'll be like, yeah, there it is. Like,
Yeah. So looking at his numbers, so in PPR he finished as RB10 in 24 and RB7 last year. And like he does have like some nice flashes. I just don't see it consistently when I watch him, and like he's always averaged like the low fours for his yards per carry. Been in that 6 and 7 touchdown range, but he has been quite good as a receiver. So that's what's really been helping him out, especially last year. Yeah, he had 88 targets last year and 69 receptions. So
anytime you're catching almost 70 passes, like obviously you're going to have PPR value. You're going to be a top scorer. So
yeah,
that's where a lot of that value is coming in. And obviously, like with the defense of the Bengals being as bad as it is, like they're going to have to throw the ball. They just, for some reason, don't invest in the defense at all. So Joe Burrow is throwing 50 passes a game and running for his life. So yeah, the PPR value is going to be there. So like I said, I'm prepared to eat my words there. I can't rank him any higher than that. We're going to finish out 19 to 24 in just a second. But before we do that, I realize that we are 20 minutes into the show and I haven't told you guys about all the things going on at CouchScouts. So what a terrible host I am, right? We have got a lot of good things for you guys over at CouchScouts.com. We record a bonus podcast every week where we're going to get off this show in just a second, and we're going to talk about under the radar running backs, guys that are outside top 24 that we think can vastly outproduce their ADP. If you are interested in that, join the Couch Scouts family. Get in on that or that bonus podcast. Love to have you guys in there for that. We also have our rookie guide. If you guys are still in rookie drafts, that's a great resource. We've got some other things in the pipeline that are coming. Lots more film in our film room, as well as possibly even a scouting academy as well. So lots of good things coming. We're excited about all of that, and you guys can sign up. And if you bundle annually, get it about the price of a cup of coffee a month. So get in there. We'd love to get to know you guys a little bit better. Love to have you guys join the Couch House family. So join us over there, CouchScouts.com. All right, let's finish this thing up talking about 19 through 24. Because these are the guys where you're talking about borderline RB2 value. And as much fun as those top guys are, and maybe these bottom of the barrel RB2s are not as much fun to talk about, good RB2s still lead you to a championship. So these guys are still worth talking about. And I'll throw it to you, Rupert. Who do you have 19 through 24?
Yeah, looking at this, I'm like, oh, maybe I should update some of these guys. But I have Josh Jacobs at 19, where he is RB23 at consensus. I've always loved the talent. Now he's up there in age, and now had this legal issue.
The legal issues is a problem.
So he's probably going to be a guy that's coming down my rankings for sure. I got Javonte Williams at 20, right in line with consensus, and I think he's one of the guys that could really outperform his value this year and be one of those guys that helps you win you a championship. So I think him being valued here, even though he's not that old, he has a contract with Dallas now, so he's a really good, I think, trade target if you want to contend this year. I have Chuba Hubbard at 21, and he's RB29 with everyone else. So probably one of my biggest discrepancies here. And admittedly, just knowing everything about him, pretty much seen every down he's played. He was limited last year with that high ankle sprain. He didn't have that same juice. Rico Dowdle came in, performed well. At the end of the year, he took that job right back. And, it took a good almost 2 months for that injury to really get him back to full speed. But just 2 years ago, he finished his RB14 on an absolutely terrible offense. So I think with a better offense, he's going to really perform well. I am slightly worried with Jonathan Brooks, who's an incredible talent. And but frankly, I think their skills complement each other quite well. So I think they could be a good duo. I suspect that they'll be kind of slow playing Brooks to start the season. and then get him involved more as in the second half of the season. Yes, I'm still high on him. I will be monitoring the Jonathan Brooks situation though and adjusting my rankings accordingly. Derrick Henry's at 22, right in line with consensus. Travis Etienne or Etienne, however you say it, I have at 23, which is 2 spots below where the rest of the community has him. I still like him as a talent. He's just been a little bit inconsistent. And let's see how he does on a new team and a new offense. And then rounding it out, I have Bashaw Tootin at 24, a guy that I really hope does take the reins there in Jacksonville and can bring in a really explosive weapon for that team.
Yeah, I'm kind of right there with you with some of these guys. I've got Travis Etienne higher. I've got him at 19 where consensus is RB21. So I'm a little higher than on the majority of the population there, but I don't know. The last few years, I've just really liked watching Travis Etienne. He's had a resurgence the last few years and really putting up some good seasons. And I'm not worried about the team switch. I think going over there and playing with, honestly, a team that is up and coming a little bit. I think, playing with the Saints, and you've got Tyler Shuck, you've got some of those outside receivers. Like that offense might be fun to watch. So I think
it definitely should be fun to watch.
Like what you got to hate as a Panthers fan, right?
Unfortunately, the one thing that is concerning is their O-line. Is it going to be as good this year? So they've had some losses on that. Are they able to backfill and have those guys step up? I think that's going to be the biggest question mark there with the Saints. Is will their O-line be opening up holes for Travis Etienne? Are they going to give time for Tyler Shuck to be able to find those weapons down the field? That's just then going to open up those running lanes so they can't stack the box. I think that is one of the things that could hold them back.
Yeah,
this year.
I think that's a fair concern. Like I understand that. I got a little bit of hopium, and I've really enjoyed watching Travis Etienne in the last few seasons. So I got him there. I've got Javonte Williams at 20, especially with the contract now. He had talk about another guy that had a resurgence, right? Going over to Dallas, and guys have essentially, we as a fantasy community had written him off dead, right? Like we loved him when he came out. He had some horrific injuries, and what is that play really going to look like? Well, man, he really showed out this season and was a really good RB2 for your roster. I've had a championship team that had Javonte Williams on my roster as a flex position. So, we're really glad that he came back and had the kind of the season he did. Josh Jacobs, I have at 21, and obviously probably going to have him even lower. I like the talent. I think, he outperforms this if he plays. I'm just not sure he's going to play, right? Like these charges are some serious charges, and they're still ongoing pending investigation. I'm not sure if he's going to even play all season. So he's one that, yes, he may have RB23 price, or that's what people are ranking him right now. I could see him fall off the map for that because he is. I mean, he's not super old, but he's a little up there in age. He's 28 years old. Like his best days might be behind him. Like scares me a little bit, honestly. I've got Bashaw Tootin at 22. You mentioned him. I think he's one of those guys that, now you have Travis Etienne out of there. Can Tootin really step up? And he's got the pass catching. He's the dynamic playmaker. I think he fits that role that Travis Etienne had really well. So I'm excited to see him this season. I've got RJ Harvey at 23. Consensus is RB 27. I think he provides an interesting dynamic on that team where he's not really great between the tackles, but he has some pass catching upside. So for me, if he's going to go out there and catch some passes, I think that's an intriguing value. So that's the reason I have him ranked there. And then Derrick Henry closing it out at 24. As long as Derrick Henry is playing, like he's going to be an RB2 on your roster. Like I'm holding him until the wheels fall off at this point. He continues to surprise me putting up the seasons he has. Like he shouldn't be doing what he's doing at this age. So that closes out our top 24 rankings. If you guys enjoyed that, tune in, subscribe to the CouchScouts bonus podcast, and you can hear some other guys that we're going to talk about tonight that are past this top 24 ranking that we also like. So hope you guys enjoyed that. I hope you find it beneficial. If you are not in the Discord right now, we do have a free Discord we'd like to get you guys in on, because we just want to know the people that listen to the podcast. So we'd love to get to know you guys that support us and talk to you. We got people talking all the time, answering trade questions, rate my teams. There's some of those that were going around recently. So get in on that. We're excited to see you guys back next week. We're going to be talking about our top 24 wide receivers. So make sure you guys tune in for that. And until then, we will see you guys later.